In this video, I'm going to go through the claim evidence reasoning for the Newton's second law lab. So let's start with the claim. We have two guiding questions or questions that we're trying to answer in this lab. We're trying to find the relationship between mass and force, and also the relationship between acceleration and force. So in your claim, you need to answer those two questions. Okay, so there are two types of relationships. There's a direct relationship. So as one goes up, the other goes up, or as one goes down, the other goes down. Okay, so if the mass increases, the force increases, that would be a direct relationship. A indirect relationship is as one goes up, the other goes down, or as one goes down, the other goes up. So if the mass increases, but the force decreases, that would be an indirect relationship. So you need to identify the relationship between the mass and the force and the acceleration and the force. So you can do it in two sentences, but most importantly here, do not explain anything. Just say the relationship between the mass and the force is blank. The relationship between the acceleration and the force is blank. Don't explain anything. All right, let's move on to the evidence. So you need to provide at least 4 pieces of evidence. It says provide more than 3 pieces of evidence, so at least 4 pieces of evidence. So this is what I would do. For my first piece of evidence, I would pick a low mass and then whatever the force was for that number. And then I would pick a high mass and then what the force was. Okay, we need at least 2 points to show a relationship. So pick a low point, low mass, what was the force? Pick a high mass, what was the force? Okay, we're going to do the same thing with acceleration for our second piece of evidence. So a low acceleration and whatever the force was at that point. And then a high acceleration and whatever the force was there. My third piece of evidence would be the relationship. So let me rephrase that. Not the relationship, I want the slope. Slope of force versus mass. Now, don't panic. You don't need to put any numbers in there. There's 3 possibilities, okay? You can have a slope that looks like this. This would be positive. You can have a slope that's a flat line. That would be 0 or constant. And then you can have a slope that goes down like this. This would be a negative slope. So you can just tell me the slope of the force versus mass graph was negative or positive, whatever it was. I don't need any actual numbers here. Okay, the fourth piece of data that I would include would be the slope of the force versus acceleration graph. Okay, so those are the 4 pieces of evidence that I would include in the evidence section right here. Okay, so you need more than 3 pieces of evidence to get the full amount of points here. Now, the reasoning section should connect the evidence to the claim. So, if you have a direct relationship, what makes it a direct relationship? If it's an indirect relationship, what makes it an indirect relationship? Okay, so let me spell that out. If direct, what makes it direct? Okay, so if the force increases and the mass decreases, what makes it indirect? Or if the force increases and if the mass increases and the force increases, what makes it a direct relationship? Okay, so connect your evidence here. This should be 2 to 3 sentences for each claim. So I'm looking for 4 to 6 sentences total. Okay, so down here, this is where you can explain what a direct or indirect relationship is, and then how your evidence proves that point. Okay, this is where you do all of the explaining. Right, hopefully that's enough information to go off of. If you have questions, definitely reach out to me. Please, 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 please put lots of effort into this section. This is the most important section of your lab write-up. Good luck.